Long before drifting had rules and bleachers packed with screaming fans, and prior to a multi-million-dollar aftermarket industry getting underway, Nissan debuted the Silvia. You recognize the name, but at the time, it was nothing like the athletic, affordable, sporty offering that inspired legions of fans at the tail end of the 1980s. Way back in 1965, Nissan quietly introduced a small, elegant coupe called the Silvia CSP 311. It wasn't loud, wasn't at all intended for motorsports duty, and it certainly wasn't cheap. Hand-assembled and produced in very limited numbers, the original Silvia was more of a statement than a performance car. A stylish rear-wheel drive coupe designed to show that the young brand could build something refined, aspirational, almost European in character. Fewer than 600 were ever produced, and most people at the time never got the chance to see one in person. That initial program was short-lived, but the idea of the Silvia did not disappear. The formula begins to form throughout the 1970s and 80s. The Silvia name evolved into something far more accessible than the first offering. Along the way came the 200SX and the advent of the affordable and efficient turbocharged four-cylinder, while the rear-wheel drive layout remained constant. Nissan was quietly creating a formula over the years, including a lightweight chassis, front engine, rear-wheel drive, and affordable performance that could be had by the masses. All the ingredients were there, they just hadn't been combined. That is until their breakthrough model landed at the end of the 1980s and made an immediate impact that would continue for generations. In 1988, a newly released S13 landed exactly the right time as higher-priced Japanese sports cars were emerging, leaving plenty of space for an affordable and capable chassis to make its mark. It was light, it was balanced, it was armed with enough power, and it was fitted with a multi-link rear suspension that gave it a fighting chance against much pricier competition. Unlike the first Silvia chassis, this one wasn't chasing prestige. It was showcasing a car packed with potential at a price that the average consumer could appreciate. Its engine choices came down to where you resided. There was a naturally aspirated K24 in the US and the turbocharged C18 or the SR20 DET in Japan and other regions. And because Nissan sold it globally as the Silvia, the 180SX, and the 240SX, it ended up everywhere. As time went on, the success of the S13 was celebrated, and along the way, something unexpected happened. As used prices dropped, young enthusiasts got their hands on them at the time when Japanese performance tuning began a very progressive era. People were pushing the chassis well beyond what Nissan ever intended. The S13 became the backbone of grassroots motorsports for a legion of fans that have spent the last few decades putting these chassis through their paces in drifting, autocross, and time attack. So beloved was this model that even when its replacement came about, Nissan continued to produce the 180SX hatchback version in Japan until 1998. By 1993, Nissan knew exactly what it had created, and their goal was to build upon that momentum with something that improved upon the popular S13. Wider, stiffer, and more aggressive, the S14 had arrived. It looked more mature and less playful, better stability, more predictable handling, and a platform that rewarded precision. At first, the S14 lived in the shadow of the S13, but as tuning culture matured, people realized something important. This chassis could handle real power. The S14 became the choice for drivers who wanted more grip, more speed, and more control. On the street and the track, it quickly cemented itself as a serious performance platform, again at a price well below cars that could go toe-to-toe with. In 1999, Nissan released the final version of the legendary S chassis line with the S15 Silvia, a version that seemed to be everything that the platform had been building towards. The look had progressed further and carried sharper styling, while the SR20 DET and its ball-bearing turbocharger was backed by a 6-speed manual transmission. The overall experience presented a chassis that was tighter, faster, and more refined, and it was exclusive, being that it was never offered in North America and instead reserved for Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, only adding to the mystique for stateside enthusiasts. For the rest of the world, it served as the ultimate expression of the S-chassis formula and philosophy, acting as the perfect balance between street car and race car, factory engineering, and a vast aftermarket potential. And just like that, it was gone. When the Silvia was discontinued in the early 2000s, Nissan didn't just end a model line, it closed the door on an era. Though it was no longer on showroom floors, the S chassis didn't fade away. In fact, its used market served as the foundation of modern drift culture. It played a major part in shaping the aftermarket industry and became the unofficial mascot for generations of eager DIYers ready to get their hands dirty while learning to build cars. I was actually one of those kids. I had multiple S13s. Even today, decades later, the S13, S14, and S15 remain relevant. Not because they are fast by modern standards, but because they are brutally honest and a reminder of just how good enthusiasts had it in the 1990s, with options that were simple, mechanical, and driver-centric. The S-Chassis was never meant to become a legend. It wasn't marketed as a halo car. It wasn't designed to dominate racetracks. But sometimes the greatest cars aren't the ones that try to become icons. They are the ones that let people turn them into something greater. And that, my friends, is why the S-Chassis will always matter. Do you think Nissan should bring back the S-Chassis? Comment your thoughts down below. I'm Nick from KONIG. Catch you on the next one.